Good evening everyone, welcome to the Weekly Bees. James Beazley here, the Managing Director of the Six Group. Throughout the year I've been involved in a number of different magazine articles and those sorts of things, and one of the ones that came to light was I was featured in two magazines. One was the Employer News and one was International Finance, and I was discussing and talking about the impact of the Martin Sorrell WPP affair or issue, whatever you want to term it. And then further to that, we've had a number of clients coming to us across this whole year concerned in particular business critical positions that they've been targeted very heavily by competition, both on the continent, so in Europe, as well as here in the UK. And what do they do about this? And it got me thinking is in a Weekly Bees and a blog that I wrote a while ago, I was asked to highlight what are the three most important things facing HR directors. And one of those was succession planning. And a lot of people talk about succession planning, but they talk about it in a vein that it's a one-track strategy. And what I mean by that is companies have come to the realization of the importance of succession planning for senior executives. And that's great, and a lot of organizations are doing it. But again, they see it as this one-track strategy of putting in a succession plan of someone with a ratio coverage of 3 or 4 people to that one senior executive, with the mindset of, yep, we've got enough coverage here for one of those 3 to be able to take over from that person in 3 or 4 years' time. But what the Martin Sorrell thing highlighted to us, and what some of the issues our clients are facing this year about critical business technical talent in a lot of instances being targeted very heavily, is that the organization suffers from a lack of resilience within its human capital. So they came to us asking us, well, what do we think? And we said, well, what have you got in terms of succession planning? And of course, they thought instantly about the ratio coverage of senior executives. But the point I'm making is that in actual fact, succession planning is a multifaceted strategy, of which one is wholly and utterly focused on linking it with retention of staff, because it's sometimes very difficult to retain all the staff you require. So how else do you build resilience into the organization? Well, you build resilience through resilience planning. And the way to do that is by utilizing talent mapping and talent pipelining, particularly talent pipelining. So the two examples I gave you, Martin Sorrell, he was an extraordinary man that grew WPP into one of the most successful multi-channel agencies in the world. But it got to the point where WPP was almost subservient to the personality of Martin Sorrell. And so what happens in organizations like that, where they are driven by highly successful people, that whereby the personality more or less is taking over or representing a greater part of the brand? And so how do you build resilience within those organizations from a human capital perspective? Well, you do it through talent pipelining. The other one is critical business talent. So in the instance I was talking about technical talent, is how then do you build resilience if that talent is constantly being headhunted? How do you build the resilience in terms of having an on-tap supply and pipeline of that talent to help supplant whatever retention strategies you're doing? So the points I've got here is the answer is to ensure that you have the coverage. The case of Martin Sorrell is a very sudden departure, and it happens time and time again. And that could be for a number of reasons. It could be, in this day and age, it seems every major executive out there is wanting to do some sort of adventure sport or triathlon, puts a lot of stress on them. We hear constantly of senior executives, unfortunately, touch wood, passing away very suddenly. We have other executives that go and do silly things, so criminal activities, and by virtue of that, there's a sudden departure. So whilst we're good at succession planning for 3 years' time, what happens when they leave straight away? Where's the resilience in the organisation to be able to supplant someone into that position now and keep the continuity, keep the progression, keep the growth of the organisation above and beyond what that key personality represented, and to keep the brand intact in the minds of talent out in the marketplace. I've got a couple of points around why you'd want to do talent pipelining and the importance of it in terms of building resilience and having that on tap amount of talent for you to be able to choose from, or at least even benchmark internally. One, it offers an opportunity to constantly pinpoint exceptional talent. It's one of those things where you're hero one day and zero the next. So there's constant pressure to get out there and constantly find and pinpoint the exceptional talent for your organization that's going to keep on growing it. And pipelining and mapping does that because it gives you a picture of who and what is out there and who's right for your organization. Two, when engaging with the talent, particularly on a pipelining activity, it really is a unique opportunity. And it's a unique opportunity to gauge the perception of the marketplace of your organization. I always say to my clients, you're never dealing with reality. You're always dealing with perception, the perception of what they think about your organization. And the beauty of that is it gives you an opportunity to have a one-on-one conversation with talent about that perception, and you're able to then rectify that or grow upon that perception right there, right then and there on the spot, and you're able to record that and then get that back. And because it's a pipeline, you're doing it every month, you're doing it every quarter, so it's live. And that helps feed the beast for attraction and the employee value proposition of an organization. Third, and where it comes back to my point about key influencers or personalities that all of a sudden start becoming even bigger than the brand itself, people find it really cool to align themselves with these types of influencers and these types of people. But really the opportunity to build resilience is how do you go beyond the personality just in case that personality ends up leaving, like Martin Sorrell. So pipelining gives you an opportunity to educate the market more around the brand of the organization itself. What is it like to work there? What's the culture? What type of experiences will you get? Plus, it also happens that you've got a great person leading the charge who's a fantastic personality and gets the name out there further. But it's all about going beyond the individual and retaining back the brand, because if that individual goes, what are you left with? Well, you're left with a brand. So you need to be able to keep that brand intact and grow that brand beyond any sort of personality. And four, it just gives you access to a pipeline of what we call cultivated talent. So you may not need them right here, right now, but the idea of pipelining and is to build an opportunity for succession planning such that when you need to do it, you can go straight to that pool, and those people have already been cultivated. They've already been mined. They've already been spoken to, cajoled, and really looked after to ensure that your company is always going to be first and top of mind when they're thinking about an alternative, or when they're thinking or are approached about an opportunity that actually, well, what's in it for me? Well, what's in it for me? I'm going to come and join this company that's been cultivating me across the last 6 to 8 months to 9 months, and now finally I'm ready to go. By virtue of that, you're going to increase your speed to recruit someone if you need to. You're going to ensure the quality of the person, and that talent is going to be matched with what the expectation of the organization is and what you need to do to grow that organization. And more importantly, you're going to be building resilience within your organization, because you, above any of your other competitors out there, have taken that proactive step to go and mine and find and map and pipeline and really engage with that exceptional talent to ensure that if anything comes up, you've got something there that can actually combat any of these external forces, and you've got control over how you can continually grow your organization. So that's it for this week. Would love your comments, particularly around the dynamic of succession planning being seen as just this one-track strategy to being a multifaceted strategy. Get your comments down below and look forward to seeing you next week. And that's it for this week on the Weekly Bees.